Today's guest is Rebekah Mudgway. Rebekah's a graphic designer, digital designer based in Christchurch, New Zealand. Rebekah and I have had the pleasure of knowing each other, and Rebekah's done a heap of work for me over the years. She's about 25 years into her career, a journey that's involved early entrepreneurship guidance from mum and dad and other members of the family, in and out of corporate jobs, freelancing jobs, and we'll hear from her about how that's panned out for her, how she's recently had a child. She's a new mum and balancing that with work, and what's been special and important to Rebekah on her journey. So let's dive in, listen to Rebekah. Hope you enjoy and you pick something up. Thanks again for joining us on Early Grounds. Rebekah Mudgway, welcome to Early Grounds. Thank you so much for your precious time.
Thank you for having me. This
No
is a bit
worries
out of
at
my
all.
comfort zone.
A bit out of your comfort zone, not you're
Bit out
usually
of my comfort zone.
behind the screen, not in front of not
Yeah,
behind the
exactly.
camera, in front of the camera.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Rebekah, I've known you for quite some time, fortunately and thankfully. We've done some work together. You started me off with your digital design work for one of my earlier brands,
Mm-hmm.
which has kept our relationship going for a number of years, actually. And you're currently the driving force behind the current Airjo branding, which we love. So tell us a bit about yourself in terms of what you're doing. You're, not to put too light a focus on it, but your digital creation in terms of design and artwork, how would you sum up what you do at the moment?
It's such a mix at the moment. So, I mean, I would consider myself a digital designer, so mainly focusing on user experience and UI, which is user interface design. But I mean, I kind of do anything. I started as a graphic designer, so I still love doing that sort of work, and I do that for you a lot. And branding, again, I do that with you as well. So, and then I now do user strategy and business strategy for government agencies as well. So it very much varies, but it all comes back to being grounded on human-centered design. So everything's around people and whether that's clients or their customers or, or people that are using applications that I might be designing. It's all around them, essentially. Yeah.
Did you, right at the beginning of so you are what I would call a solopreneur. I know you've been part of big teams before. You're currently running just yourself, I think. Is that correct?
Yep.
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 And you've been in and out of larger groups and working as contractors for bigger establishments.
Yeah.
How did you see yourself in the early days? What gave you the jump to think? As you said, you started with a graphic design business, someone else's business.
Yeah.
What gave you the thought that you might one day do this on your own?
I don't know if I ever really thought that I would. I just don't say no. That's really what it comes down to.
Okay.
So I think I've never tried to grow my business. That's probably my next challenge that I need to probably look at doing. But it's all just been people have contacted me and I just want to help people. So it kind of morphed. I can't really remember when I first started like doing freelance on the side of working full time. But then that might have been probably not long after I met you, maybe.
Okay. So do you think I might have dragged you out of the corporate scene into the solopreneur scene? So did that work? Yeah. Did that go gradually? Did you start doing? Do you recall just a few jobs on the side? Obviously, you wouldn't do that unless you had some thought that that's where you wanted to go, because probably in doing that you potentially jeopardize what your main gig, your main role. So you probably think with a bit of confidence that you felt that you could go out on your own. Did you? Probably, yeah. Did you have any? Your family have been in their own businesses with their own businesses as well, so it wasn't foreign to you. No. What influence did they have on? Do you think just the way you're confident in stepping out on your own?
I think they've added to. They've created many strengths, and like my parents mainly, and I've got two older brothers, so we're all workaholics, which is a strength, but also a terrible weakness. It's something I definitely don't want to pass on to my son, that we just work like ridiculous amount of hours. So I remember growing up, my parents both had a restaurant each. They'd never really, they just started in food. So before I was born, they had started in food. But basically they would walk around the town and go, well, what businesses are for sale and what do we want to kind of get into. And so it was never like you can kind of do anything that you want to do, but you've just got to work hard. And so that was instilled right from day dot. So mum and dad were working 14-hour days when I was 2.5.
And how do you think that attitude or that focus or that mentality of you can do whatever you want as long as you work hard, how important do you think that is for any entrepreneur, whether they're on their journey or they're thinking about starting? How important is it that they have the confidence to be able to choose what they want, but know
Yeah.
that they need to really dig deep when the time comes?
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing, like if a friend of mine just started, like her and her husband just went out on their own. It's essentially his business. She's still working full time, but the very combined sort of thing. And we talked about it when I was living in Wellington. I'm no longer there. So it was about 6 years ago, I think we were talking about that. And I just said, give it a go. So I think what mum and dad's work ethic is instilled in me and my brothers is just give it a go. There's nothing that can really go wrong. Like what have you got to lose?
Don't be
So
too scared.
there's going to be hard times, and it's going to feel like it's a bit too much. Sometimes it can be feel quite overwhelming. But I mean, God, at the end of the day, if it gets too much for you mentally, like in terms of your health and stuff like that, then there's no problem with pulling the pin and trying something else. So I think the big thing is not holding on for too long to the point where it gets you into a hole. It's probably one of the things that I've definitely seen with my parents, like as in, there's always ebbs and flows with business, and sometimes you're up and other times you're down, and I don't think they've ever really had to pull the pin, but maybe there were times when they probably should have. However, they worked their way out of it. So I just don't think there's anything that you shouldn't try. You've got nothing to lose. So
It's a good attitude. It's and it's certainly something that I think you need as an entrepreneur to give things a go, and to try different things and take risks.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
always going to be risks in entrepreneurship, and then it's a matter of how well you manage them and how well you balance them against other things in your. That's a pretty good place for you to come from in terms of seeing your mum and dad do that, and your brothers. Your brothers have done their own thing. So
yeah,
that's definitely something you've got up your sleeve.
yeah.
That most people probably don't have.
Well, we always do different things too. It's quite funny, like I actually, like, just recently, well, when I say recent, I've lost all track of time. So it was probably about 2 years ago. Someone said to me, "Oh, you guys moved around a lot when you were a kid." And I was like, "Not really." Or, or your parents have done lots of different things. I can't remember what exactly the comment was. Um, it might have been that I've moved around a bit, but mum and dad, what they've done is quite unusual because, they had restaurants, and then, and before then my dad had a car yard and was a mechanic. And then they had motels, they've had a joinery business, they've still got a joinery business. Um, and they've done insurance, and mum was a beautician. And it's sort of like, and they're like, "Oh my God, like my parents have stayed in the same job for 20 years. And I was like, yeah, we just kind of, I don't know, there's nothing you can't do.
And
If you really
the
want
job,
it, yeah.
I was going to say, the job has been entrepreneurship. It's
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter what it is, and that I think that's also an interesting point for those that are thinking about getting in. The what is not necessarily as important as the how.
Yeah.
Whether you're selling milk or bread,
Mhm.
it doesn't really matter. It's really about how you just jumping in and starting,
I
um,
think that's the thing. You see
and
an
start rolling.
opportunity and go with it. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that
Just,
could morph into anything. Who knows where
yeah.
you may go from there, but starting. So it's a good point. And
Yeah.
it's good, it's good to acknowledge that mum and dad could bring their skills of entrepreneurship to a broad range of things. And it
Yeah.
was the actual business was actually the game that probably inspired them to do that. And then
I
that
think
flowed down
so.
to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also at the center of everything that we do, and I can safely say this for the entire family, it's always about people.
Yeah.
So, you're dealing with people. So, whether you're welcoming them to a restaurant or you're welcoming them into a motel complex. I mean, and mum and dad have always been really good at that, especially mum. Like, she's just that sort of person. Like,
Okay.
we'd have just random people turn up for dinner
Okay.
that, had just turned up, and they're like travelers. And so, oftentimes in the motels, we'd have like our guests having dinner with us, because mum's just so welcoming. So yeah, I think, it's been pretty, probably, I'd never really thought about it, but it's pretty, it's
So
entrenched.
for your personal journey, so how long have you been in business for? How long since you broke out from the corporate role? Mind you, you went in and out of corporate roles over the last few years, haven't you?
Still am. Yeah,
Okay.
still am. But I think it might be 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so as you've been on your own, in the parts where you've been on your own, what's been the toughest parts for you to get through, and where did you find you needed to dig the deepest when you were running as a solopreneur when times got tough? What was tough? What's been tough?
To be honest, the biggest thing that kind of stresses me out is money.
Okay.
That's always been my thing.
In what way does that stress you out?
Like because I've never promoted my business ever. And so you're like, oh my God, I'm so busy. Oh, but what if it stops? So you never say no. So you just keep piling on the work. So at 9 months pregnant, I was working 80-hour weeks.
Right.
For a couple of months. Wouldn't recommend that. It's got a bit tiring. But you just keep going because you think eventually it's going to stop. Like it can't possibly continue being this good.
Right.
And so, and I think because of that, it kind of is like, because I've got things that I want to achieve. So of course eventually it always comes back to money.
Right.
In some respects, because, I want to do things around the house, and that's what I do my business for. So, so there's that kind of driving thing, and it's sort of like, is that ever going to dry up?
You've been successful in that regard in terms of property and things that you've done on your own.
Yeah, I've been really lucky.
I think you've been lucky in a combination of that. You're working hard, and you're a successful entrepreneur. I think if you're running your own business and you have been for a number of years, you are a successful entrepreneur. We don't necessarily have to measure it in dollars in the bank, and that might not be what people are doing it for. There's a lot of benefits that come from being an entrepreneur that aren't necessarily related to money. It's the yardstick that we measure success with most of the time, as from a business perspective. But
to be fair, the driver behind me doing any of this, like I could care less about awards and stuff like that. I have never claimed to be the best designer in the world. That's just not who I am. But the success for me comes from seeing people actually achieve in their businesses. So like, I remember when you were starting your coffee brand, like, the first one, in Nelson, and I didn't necessarily agree with some of the things you were doing, but I also learned, but I also learned so much from, like you learn from little things that people do on your journey, and it might have nothing to do with what you are actually doing, but you appreciate the attention to detail that they're putting into something. And you were putting your brand on everything, like everything. And I remember you saying that, and I hated the signage I did for you. I absolutely hated it. But it worked and it had purpose. And then in 6 months' time, that the fact that you were in how many supermarkets across New Zealand was phenomenal. And that to me was something to be really proud of. That I was part of that.
It's a good example. It's a good example of feeling confident enough not to necessarily follow the rules in the textbook. And I think, I recall you and I had those sort of conversations. They were good conversations. They were productive. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you came from a very professional, experienced space, and I was coming from what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And those conversations resulted in what turned out to be successful branding and expansion.
Totally. But that's also, I think, like just being around that, like I'm so lucky to be around the clients I'm around as well, that people are all out there doing it. Like they're just getting stuck in, and I don't know. I think a lot of the time there's a lot of confidence, but they might not be that confident on the inside. Do you know what I mean? They just
certainly on the outside they look confident, and then they just go. But I think that's important. I think you just got to go, and you've just got to find that confidence somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, and you'll never fail. Not really. Nothing's ever that much of a failure.
And that's a really good point, because failure is learning. There's no successful, however you measure it, there's no successful entrepreneurs anywhere that haven't failed. And the really successful ones will tell you that they're successful because they failed.
Yeah.
So you've got to jump in and you've got to go. So that's good. That's a good, they're good examples of that. How did you feel when you were working for, because you've done some great work for banks, mining companies, big, corporations, big establishments. How does that work for you compared to working for the one-man band? Is it different work for you, or is it just the same sort of thing?
It's just the same.
It's the same?
Probably different scale, right? Amount of work that you get to do or have to do, not have to do, get asked to do. But I never look at my clients and go, well, this one gives me this much work a year, so they're really important. I'm going to treat them really well. Whereas this one might only contact me for a button to go on a website.
Yeah.
There is no difference. All of them deserve the same level of consideration and care. I had that at one place where that was pointed out to me, like, well, actually, this client isn't that important because this one over here is, bringing in more work to us. And I was like, no, I don't like that. That doesn't sit well with me.
So it's more about the job, focusing on the job and the quality of the job.
And the people, it sounds really stupid and like I'm just like,
no, not at all,
lying, but it is actually about the people. Like, I am so lucky with the clients I've got. They're all so lovely. Like, we've formed a friendship.
Absolutely.
Through working.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've got that with a lot of my clients, if not all of them.
And I think that's more than just luck. I think, that's obviously a lot down to you. And I think the fact that your focus on the people, and this is important for anyone who's watching or listening, that people are important pretty much in all businesses, whether, from the client to the teams that you're working with, it's a fundamental part of business. And I think, you've said a couple of times that you haven't promoted your business, but you're still going and it's still coming in and it's still successful.
It still surprises me.
Yeah. And it shouldn't, but let it continue surprising you. Don't change anything, but it shouldn't because you obviously tick all the boxes that you need to tick to be successful in your Solopreneurship. So congratulations so far. It's going really well. Not maybe. I think, it'll keep going. Keep doing your great work.
Hopefully.
Tell me, in terms of the biggest job that you've done, if something springs to mind in terms of in terms of impact, not necessarily longest contract, but a big one that you're quite proud of. What's a key learning that you may have picked up while you were working on the big job? Can you think of anything?
I've been so lucky to be on so many massive things, but they've all, like, the one that keeps coming to mind is the BNZ app, just because of, so many people seeing it.
And what was your role in that? What was your role in the Bank of New Zealand app, the phone app?
Yeah. So, I was the mobile designer for both the business application and the retail application. So if you're a normal banker, you'd use the retail app. And so there were 4 dev teams that I had to design for. So I was the only designer for both of them. And I was there when we launched Apple Pay, and it was called Android Pay back then. I think it's now Google Pay. And it was a really successful launch, and we had to deal with Apple in particular. Was, they've got a lot of constraints, and they actually said that it was the biggest or the best launch that they'd ever had across the world.
Fantastic.
And I can't remember the numbers now. The thing is about that one is it's not. I wouldn't say it's the biggest one that kind of comes to mind.
Right.
But I wouldn't say that it's any more important than, seeing some, like for instance, like dealing with your brand and seeing you have a kiosk in a mall and like that, it's the same.
So same sort of reward for you as the producer of the.
Totally. And it's because it's never just about me as well. I think I just get so much joy like seeing, the team at BNZ was recognized for that. So that was awesome, because it was a team effort.
Yes.
With you, it's like I'm seeing you put your flavor into something and seeing the benefit and the joy that it brought you and Flav. So it's kind of, like not one thing's bigger than the other.
Yeah, understand.
Yeah.
So on all those jobs, through those jobs, the big and the small, what's something that from a business perspective, from a entrepreneur's perspective, what's something that you got wrong, or what was a serious lesson that you learned along the journey that might have changed the way that you then worked going forward?
Oh, as you know, I'm a pretty fiery kind of character,
Yeah.
and that sometimes can get me in trouble.
Okay.
I kind of say what I think. The lessons that have come from that, though, because, sometimes you might not be that proud of how you've responded to a challenge or something like that. And the thing that I am proud of with that, though, is there has never been a time that I don't go away and reflect on that. And I don't hold a mirror up to myself and go, well, how could I have done that better?
So are you saying that there's been times where you've spoken your mind without
Mm.
any necessarily pre-thought about the impact it might have on the role, on the
Hmm.
job, and the job's suffered as a result of that, but then
Yeah.
that hasn't...
You've offended somebody, or, and that's not ever the intention that I would ever want.
Okay.
But I think with that kind of thing, you kind of go, I think as I've got older, I've realized that there's just so much other stuff to care about. So stop sweating the small stuff.
Okay.
So the one thing that, like, it's really only, it hasn't been since I've just had my son. The biggest thing that, like, work was my life. I love what I do. So I it doesn't feel like a job to me. So, there would be times when I'd wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and work until 10 o'clock at night without hardly any break. So there's no exercise in there. There's no eating well. There's, like, everything just goes completely out the window. And then when you're sleeping, you dream about it. So you're designing in your sleep. So
Yeah.
it's not a great lifestyle. But I thought that that was so fulfilling. Now that I've got my son, it's sort of, and I remember somebody saying this to me at a job. They were like, when you have kids, you won't care so much about some of this stuff. And now I understand it a little bit more. Not that I never did going forward, but now I've got to actually decompartmentalize what is work and when I'm focusing on work. Like, today's a work day for me. So I know he's getting looked after, so I don't have to worry about that. But when he's with me, it's just him. Like, it's all about him. I don't think about work.
And
That would
how's
never
that...
have been the case.
How's that been for you mentally, psychologically, knowing that obviously spending the time with your son is wonderful
Yeah.
and
Yeah, he's
outweighs
cool.
work,
Yeah.
100 times
Well,
over. But
depends if he's packing
it
a
depends on a good
tanty.
day or a bad day. Do you how do you reconcile that in terms of, are you doing less work? One would
No.
suggest that you're not doing less work, so you're working harder on the... Were you not working hard enough before, Rebekah? Are you working longer hours and harder on the days that you don't have him?
I think I'm just focusing better,
Okay, interesting.
maybe.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm terrible with any sort of lacks. Like, I've got to be kind of on, and under a lot of pressure to get the best out of my time. So now I've got less time, so I'm more intense with it. Does that make sense? Whereas probably
Absolutely.
before I'd work longer hours.
And so you find you're more productive per hour?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I would say
Okay.
so.
Okay,
So,
so
like, when he
that's
goes
worked
to
quite
bed,
well.
I'm working. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
Excellent.
But I
That's
don't
good.
know if that really answers your question, but it's sort of like the one that you actually
Yeah,
asked.
no,
But
it
it's
does.
kind of like reflecting on just not being ashamed to be who you are, but also when you muck up, like, take accountability for it and take
Yeah.
your part in it, and then you grow. And I
Okay.
think that this has been part of my growth to where I am now.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
It's part of your journey.
Yeah.
And so the opposite of that in terms of what you might have got wrong or what didn't work, what hasn't worked.
Mm.
What's something that you feel was a key part of your success, even though you might not think that you're as successful as I know you are? What's been something that you got right? What was a turning point or a key thing that you figured out or that clicked for you along the way that had a positive influence on your business going forward? Anything that springs to mind there? A key
Uh,
learning?
I honestly think it's just about, to be fair, I'm sure you probably know this about me, but I don't really think too much. I kind of just do.
Yeah.
So, and I think what I've realized is, because I don't feel, I'm not confident. I'm not a massively confident person. I'm not, like, yeah, I don't think I've done too well or anything like that. Like, I don't think like that.
Okay.
But I know that outwardly that's what it looks like to people. or to some people. Um, and I think that it's the thing that I think I've got right is I just don't really, I'm willing to give anything a go.
Okay.
So, and that's been the whole, I'm not a career focused person. Well, I don't think I am. But somehow I've managed to pivot and get involved in stuff. And I've always said that I can do something even when I might not have done it before.
Okay. Would you
So
would
I
you
think that that's positive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the wherever you learnt that, wherever you picked it up, and it might have been right from day one from mum and dad,
It might be.
and
Yeah.
your surroundings that you've learnt to give anything a go. And it's interesting that you touch on confidence. So you don't necessarily see yourself as successful or a confident person, but which could be really important to people that are feeling that way themselves. But you
Mm.
still have a go and you still jump in somehow.
Yeah.
You've got the confidence to do that. So
Yeah.
I think that's important for people to hear. If
And I think
you
that's, yeah.
uh,
Sorry.
what do you wish you knew back then that you know now? Would you change anything? Would you throw back some information in the early days that would potentially take you in a different direction or more successful?
I don't know because I don't really have I don't really have a plan
Mm,
either. Like, I
okay.
don't really go, oh, this is what I want it to be. I think eventually I do want to be 100% back being self-employed and just rely on my clients. So I need to build up my client base a lot more before that's possible. Um,
100% freelance as opposed to contracts plus freelance. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I do a bit of a mixture at the moment, and so it's sort of and my day job is essentially talking about design and how important it is, whereas I use my clients as a way to get that creative outlet sort of going.
Okay.
I think what I don't think I would have changed necessarily anything because I feel like there's no point changing anything because, I'm really happy where I am right now.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah.
But I think what was I going to say? The thing that I probably tell myself is actually is everything's going to be fine. Like not to worry about money, like what I was talking about before. Like,
Mm,
am I going to keep getting work? Because it's keep coming.
okay.
So I think so that I can enjoy the moment more as
Okay.
opposed to worrying about what might happen next week or
Do you
whatever,
think
or enjoying the lulls.
do you think the fear that the work will dry up was also motivational for you to keep working hard? And there's
Probably.
value in that?
Yeah. I mean, I think you can't, like, that's why I wouldn't change anything
Yeah.
that has happened
Yeah.
because it's sort of like, well, it's all led to being really positive.
Yes.
And I honestly can't remember necessarily bad times. I don't know whether it's because I just don't look at them as bad times or whether, like, because I don't think life's been rosy, but it's, like, I just sort of, I don't know, I take the lessons out of it.
Mm,
And I think that's what I was trying to refer to before, even with me just being me. I'm not ashamed of who I am or whether I swear too much or like in meetings or whatever. Like, that is who I am. And that's my brand. My brand is I live and breathe it. It's black and white. My house is black and white. My dogs are black and white. Like, my car's black. Like,
it's who
it's
you are.
sort
Yeah.
of it's who I am. And that is probably one of the things that I think if you are starting anything, be who you are.
It's a great
Because then
advice.
there's no promises that you're gonna break
But
because you're trying to be something that you are.
there's only one of you too. So,
Yep.
if you are who
Yep.
you are, no one can compete with that.
No.
So it's
No.
something important. It's a very important tip. Well done. Be who you are right from the start.
Yeah. All
Just
the time. Yep. And be okay with maybe some of the things that people might not like about that or,
100%.
you know yeah.
Yeah. Tell me, Bex, going forward, what's your current involvement with AI? How's that impacting your business? How has it impacted your business? What do you see yourself doing? Because it's quite
Mm.
a big player currently in, and will continue to be, I'm sure, in digital artwork,
Yeah.
design, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Are you using anything at the moment? Are you using much? Are you planning
Um,
on using it?
I am planning on using it. So we actually had a conversation. There's some, like, so for my day job, there's some goals there to learn more about AI, and I'm quite excited about that. I actually think, cool, that would be a good thing to kind of sink my teeth into. Up until now, I've used ChatGPT just for so for life stuff. So when I was pregnant, I wanted to just put some high level questions in, because you've got to be careful. You don't want to go down a rabbit hole too much with negativity. But I have used it for helping me copyright for clients. Also, I've used it. I remember I had to do like a bit of a strategy pitch, and I was just so under the pump with so much other work. And normally something like that might take a day, and your head would have to be in it. So what I liked about using ChatGPT is I put in kind of what I was wanting to kind of do. It spat back and I said, like, what's the process? This is all stuff I know. So I'm not using it to replace my knowledge.
Yeah.
But what I liked about it is it sparked a couple of things, and I was like, right, now I'm going to write about that. So I used it to speed up my thought process as opposed to replace my thought process, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's important too. It's the creativity, which may come in some form or another. You know, I'm a big AI fan. That may come in some form or another, but again, it'll never be you. It'll never be specifically you and your, it won't replicate your brain and your creative contribution as an individual, as a person. So
I think it's a really valuable tool that I am excited to tap into a little bit more. At the moment, I just sort of haven't needed to use it too much, but I'm excited to see how far I can go with it and how it can help, create more value and at a faster pace to my clients through me.
Right. And so you also mentioned earlier in terms of you'd like to get back to a place where you're 100% freelance. And before we came on, we were talking about growing the business with social content, which you haven't done yet, and I'm only just starting to get into now.
Yeah.
So you see yourself moving into that side of things in terms of social creation, social content creation for yourself, for your own brand, and maybe, of course, clients.
Yeah, I think so.
And AI potentially helping you along the way there as well.
Yeah. I mean, there was things like I had grand plans thinking that I was going to have all this time when I was on maternity leave to teach myself some new things and new tools and stuff like that. And I thought that I'd use ChatGPT for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought about how it could help me grow my business.
Okay.
So speaking to you and hearing what you're doing and why you're even doing this podcast was quite cool. Like, that's why it's awesome just to be around people who are doing the same thing,
Just this little 30-minute conversation, you've picked up something which I think is incredibly powerful in
totally.
and the other models in terms of their business partners.
Yeah, exactly.
No question about it. So that's great. You've got some exciting stuff to look forward to there.
I know. Or extra work. I'm not sure.
Lots more work, but probably more efficiently.
More.
Yeah. But that certainly help you get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
Bex, that's been a great little chat. Thank you.
It's done.
I think, what else have you got? You got anything you want to throw out there? Yeah, I think we've covered some really key points. It
wasn't too bad. I
wasn't too
probably
painful.
won't watch it back. I won't watch it back.
So I won't send it there. I won't
want to see myself on camera.
I'll just promote it, and we'll go from there. You'll get people commenting on it, and you won't know what they're talking about.
Probably not.
How will people reach you? What have you got? What have you got for the people the few people that are listening, watching? In terms of, if you're looking for more, are you looking for more clients?
Yeah,
Your freelance clients.
I'm always
So your website. What's your website?
It's framestudio.co.nz. It is not updated. That is one thing I need to be really clear on. I don't have time to update.
Yours will look better than mine. It's like the plumber's house is always leaking water. I understand that completely.
Yeah. So that's probably the best place.
I'll put some links down below in the description and various places that we pop this podcast. But thank you once again for your precious time. I really appreciate it. It's great to have, and again, you undervalue yourself. Your contribution to this podcast is immense as a solopreneur and your various things. So thank you very much. And hope to catch up with you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bex. See you.
All right. See you.
Just quickly looking back over that episode with Rebekah, again, very grateful for her time. the take-home points, I think, for those of you that might be, again, thinking about getting into entrepreneurship or find yourself in the early stages, the early grounds of entrepreneurship, it's important to pick up there that few things specific to Rebekah's journey. She never says no to a job, just gets on and does it, not focused too much on long-term planning, just driven to continue doing the work, driven by the need for the work to continue to come in. And she's humbly noticing that 25 years later in her career, she's still bringing in work without having to advertise. And that says a lot. She does great work. She was exposed to an entrepreneurial environment growing up with mum and dad and her brothers being entrepreneurial themselves. So it wasn't foreign to her. She sort of just worked her way into it and gradually moved away from the full-time corporate job into her solopreneurship journey, in and out through over the 25 years, in and out of corporate roles while still doing freelancing on the side. And even now there's a mix going on, not scared to introduce a young man into her life. And she finds now as a new mum that her work that she does is far more productive by the hour than it used to be, maybe because it needs to be, but thoroughly enjoying that from what we picked up. So I think Rebekah's a great example of someone who just gets in and does it, and she'll be hopefully you've picked up some things that might be valuable to you there, that might be inspiring for you there to just get in and give it a go. That was one of the key messages, just to start, just to do something. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's restaurants, whether it's hair salons, whether it's milk, whether it's bread, doesn't matter. So hopefully you picked up something out of that one. Look forward to seeing you next episode 3. Thanks again for joining Early Grounds.